Welcome. Today we will be reading lesson 352 in the workbook, and from the text, chapter 31, section 1, The Simplicity of Salvation, paragraphs 1 through 7. And now for lesson 352. Judgment and love are opposites. From one come all the sorrows of the world, but from the other comes the peace of God Himself. Forgiveness looks on sinlessness alone and judges not. Through this I come to you. Judgment will bind my eyes and make me blind. Yet love, reflected in forgiveness here, reminds me you have given me a way to find your peace again. I am redeemed when I elect to follow in this way. You have not left me comfortless. I have within me both the memory of you and one who leads me to it. Father, I would hear your voice and find your peace today. For I would love my own identity and find in it the memory of you. Love does not condemn, and forgiveness, being aligned with love, only sees the innocence and perfection of others, and offering no judgment. For when one attacks another, one's vision is obstructed, and the reality of the other and oneself becomes completely unknown. Yet having judged, forgiveness is the means to return to love, restoring one's peace once again. And love itself has provided one with a comforter, one who knows the way back to love's embrace. All that is required is one's willingness to hear the voice for love and follow its sure and kind direction. For one has learned the effects of judgment and would rather choose happiness instead today. And now for our text reading for today, from chapter 31, section 1, The Simplicity of Salvation, paragraphs 1 through 7. How simple is salvation! All it says is what was never true is not true now, and never will be. The impossible has not occurred, and can have no effects, and that is all. Can this be hard to learn by anyone who wants it to be true? Only unwillingness to learn it could make such an easy lesson difficult. how hard is it to see that what is false cannot be true, and what is true cannot be false. You can no longer say that you perceive no differences in false and true. You have been told exactly how to tell one from the other, and just what to do if you become confused. Why then do you persist in learning not such simple things? There is a reason, but confuse it not with difficulty in the simple things salvation asks you learn. It teaches but the very obvious. It merely goes from one apparent lesson to the next, in easy steps that lead you gently from one to another, with no strain at all. This cannot be confusing, yet you are confused. For somehow you believe that what is totally confused is easier to learn and understand. What you have taught yourself is such a giant learning feat, it is indeed incredible. But you accomplished it because you wanted to, and did not pause in diligence to judge it hard to learn or too complex to grasp. No one who understands what you have learned, how carefully you learned it, and the pains to which you went to practice and repeat the lessons endlessly, in every form you could conceive of them, could ever doubt the power of your learning skill. There is no greater power in the world. The world was made by it, and even now depends on nothing else. The lessons you have taught yourself have been so overlearned and fixed, they rise like heavy curtains to obscure the simple and the obvious. Say not you cannot learn them, for your power to learn is strong enough to teach you that your will is not your own. Your thoughts do not belong to you, and even you are someone else. Who could maintain that lessons such as these are easy? Yet you have learned more than this. You have continued taking every step, however difficult, without complaint, until a world was built that suited you. And every lesson that makes up the world arises from the first accomplishment of learning. An enormity so great, the Holy Spirit's voice seems small and still before its magnitude. The world began with one strange lesson, powerful enough to render God forgotten, and his Son an alien to himself, in exile from the home where God himself established him. You who have taught yourself the Son of God is guilty, say not that you cannot learn the simple things salvation teaches you. Learning is an ability you made and gave yourself. It was not made to do the will of God, but to uphold a wish that it could be opposed, and that a will apart from it was yet more real than it. And this has learning sought to demonstrate, and you have learned what it was made to teach. Now does your ancient over-learning stand implacable before the voice of truth, and teach you that its lessons are not true, too hard to learn, too difficult to see, and too opposed to what is really true. Yet you will learn them, for their learning is the only purpose for your learning skill the Holy Spirit sees in all the world. His simple lessons in forgiveness have a power mightier than yours, because they call from God and from yourself to you. Is this a little voice, so small and still it cannot rise above the senseless noise of sounds that have no meaning? God willed not his Son forget him, and the power of his will is in the voice that speaks for him. Which lesson will you learn? What outcome is inevitable, sure as God, and far beyond all doubt and question? Can it be your little learning, strange in outcome and incredible in difficulty, will withstand the simple lessons being taught to you in every moment of each day, since time began and learning had been made? The lessons to be learned are only two. Each has its outcome in a different world, and each world follows surely from its source. The certain outcome of the lesson that God's Son is guilty is the world you see. It is a world of terror and despair. Nor is there hope of happiness in it. There is no plan for safety you can make that ever will succeed. There is no joy that you can seek for here and hope to find. Yet this is not the only outcome which your learning can produce. However much you may have overlearned your chosen task, the lesson that reflects the love of God is stronger still. And you will learn God's Son is innocent and see another world. This section teaches that there are really only two lessons to learn. The first lesson is making love's creation guilty, of which one has taught oneself well. And as a result, one has made a world of separation and suffering. It is a world of blame and fault-finding, loss and lack, with no real hope of happiness. The other lesson is learning that love's one creation is innocent and whole. This is the lesson that the Course is teaching, which is a much simpler lesson than the first lesson, which took incredible effort and learning ability to master. For the second lesson merely denies what is false and affirms what is true. It recognizes that the impossible did not happen, and what lacks meaning does not exist. And to say this course is too difficult to learn is but to conceal the fact that one does not really want to learn it.